and try to decapitate Ukrainian government by making, for example, great push to capture Kyiv or Sumy?
I think the question here is, it's one thing having a ceasefire, it's quite another how you provide the security environment to stop Russia doing this again. I think many in the West, I think particularly President Trump, just sees this as an opportunity to stop the fighting, stop the killing. As a military guy, unless you solve the problem, you don't end the war. The battle may stop, but you don't end the war. And last time I came to Ukraine in October, I was reminded several times that this war didn't start in 2022. It didn't start in 2014. Russia in various forms has been attacking Ukraine for 300 years and trying to destroy its people, its language, its culture, its civilization. And that Russia won't stop. So pausing the war with a ceasefire will never be the answer. The answer has to be a robust security environment in that post-war time. And that, I think, is the most difficult conversation. I think President Zelensky has recognized he needs American help and therefore agreed to negotiate. But he's been very clear, I cannot allow my country to agree a peace unless we have something very robust in terms of security environment. And I was reminded when I came here last time, I remember history, 1994, the Budapest Memo, Ukraine was the third largest nuclear power, and Ukraine agreed to give back its nuclear weapons in return for a cast iron guarantee about the sovereignty of the country. 20 years later, Putin moves in and the West largely does nothing about it. That memory will not allow President Zelensky to accept a signature on a bit of paper. It has to be something more robust. And I think that is something that America, the West, Europe, my country, is trying to work out. How do you provide that security environment? And of course, President Putin is going to say no, because he will want to maintain the option of having another bite at Ukraine in the future.
My first question would be about this security guarantees for Ukraine. How would you like to see this robust security guarantees for Ukraine, and can the United Kingdom, France and other European allies provide Ukraine with enough security without American commitment, without US backstop?
Yeah, it's a very difficult question. And one of the reasons I think it is so difficult is if you look at it in detail. Let's take one example. One military assessment said that we would need to have a force of 100,000 soldiers in Ukraine to provide that security guarantee. My country, we have 74,000 soldiers in the British Army, so it feels like we're almost there. But if you look at how many of our soldiers can be deployed, because some of them are doing training, some of them are in logistics, some of them, it's about 35,000 that can be deployed.
Only British troops?
I'm just talking about British troops now. And if you wanted to have an enduring presence in Ukraine, let's supposing they were there for 4 months at a time, you'd have to have one team deployed, another team preparing to deploy, and the team that's just come back having some holiday and a break. So you need to have 3 units, 3 times the number of forces that are actually deployed there. If you have 30,000 available, that means you can only support 10,000 on the ground at any one time. So if the United Kingdom can only do 10,000, let's supposing France and Germany can do a similar number, that still isn't half of the forces that are needed. So where do the rest of the forces come from? Poland is spending a lot more money on defence now, but if I was Polish, I'd be more worried about defending my country than putting forces into Ukraine. And there are some countries like Italy, which are still not taking this very seriously at all. So practically, it's very difficult. I think the one thing that and we heard our British Prime Minister talking to this, is we didn't want to get involved with a no-fly zone at the start of the war, but I do think a no-fly zone would be a very effective way of stopping Russia advancing. Western technology in air is far better than Russia, and Russia has shown how it operates for the last 3 years. The West has been sucking all that information up. It now understands much better how all of these weapons, Kinzhal, some of the high-end weapons. So I think that would be a very effective way of contributing to some form of post-war security environment. But it's not easy.
Yes, we are hearing an air alert. It could be a sign that Vladimir Putin is not really happy about a ceasefire proposal from US President Donald Trump. It even could be a sign that Vladimir Putin tried to humiliate Donald Trump because he continued to attack Ukraine after this big best offer from US President Donald Trump.
Yes, I think there's a danger sometimes that we react to everything that happens each day. There is a war going on, and Vladimir Putin and his forces will be looking to do everything possible to achieve their objectives. They're not stopping. We haven't agreed a ceasefire. They will keep pushing hard. And I suspect we would do exactly the same if roles were reversed. I don't think Vladimir Putin would want to humiliate President Trump. He would not want to make an enemy of the biggest superpower in the world. I believe a number of military analysts who think that the West has done enough to stop Ukraine losing, but has not done enough to help it win. And military forces in the West are far more powerful than Russia. If we were to get involved, Russia would be stopped straight away. And if Putin was to make an enemy of President Trump, and Trump suddenly decided to say, right, we're going to get involved, that would not be something that Russia would want. Putin has, every step of the way, has tried to scare the West not to get involved. So I'd be very surprised if Putin wants to insult President Trump. President Trump offers him a way out. It offers President Putin an off-ramp, a way to end the war. I'd be very surprised if he were to humiliate him.
You just mentioned about air power in Ukraine, but can the UK, France and other allies provide this air cover over Ukraine without American Air Force, without American power? Would be enough British, French and other European air forces to stop Russia in the air without American commitment, without US air backstop?
Well, the short answer is I think the West could, but it wouldn't be as good. But I think the real question is that we're not suggesting that that air power comes in on day one and that Russia will be ready to attack Western air power on day one. That would be stupid for Russia to do that. Russia needs a break. It needs a pause in this war. It's run out of a lot of equipment on the ground. Its air force has been badly damaged. It has lost a lot of soldiers. The economy in Russia is being damaged. Inflation is high. They do not want to do another round of mobilization because a lot of casualties. So it might be that this is a good chance for Putin to take a pause. So that pause, it'd probably be 5 years or maybe more before President Putin's forces are ready again to have another bite at Ukraine. So I don't think Western air power needs to be very effective on day one. What it needs to do is to have some of its forces demonstrate commitment to Ukraine and then actually start to invest in Ukraine's own military capability. So at the moment, the West has given F-16s and Mirage 2000s. But it needs much more than that to be able to provide a counter to Russia. So I do think that the West will help Ukraine build that, and as the Ukraine builds its capability, the West may be able to gradually reduce its